My mother-in-law kicked me out of her house because she didn't approve of my decision to give birth at my parents' home. She dragged me out while I was still in my pajamas, not even allowing me to put on my shoes. With nothing but my phone, I quickly called my mom, who lived nearby, and waited for her at a local diner. When my mom and sister heard about what had happened, they were furious and immediately began to take actions that would soon cause trouble for both my mother-in-law and my husband. I'm 29 years old, and my name is Emma. A year ago, I married Cody, who is 31. His father owns a large company, and Cody is being groomed to take over as the next CEO, currently gaining experience at one of their smaller branches. I met Cody at work, but I only found out about his family's business empire just before our wedding. He hadn't mentioned his future role as CEO, which was a huge surprise to me. Cody was confident, well-liked, and once he explained everything, it all made sense. Suddenly, I found myself married to the future CEO. After the wedding, Cody moved to the main office, while I continued working at my job. My father-in-law seemed supportive, telling me, "I've heard you're a young leader at your workplace. Keep up the good work." On the other hand, my mother-in-law had a different perspective, questioning, why would a wife neglect her home to work? She strongly opposed me having a career. I initially thought that living separately from Cody's parents would avoid conflict, but I was mistaken. They expressed a desire for us to live together, and that's when the tension began. My father-in-law, being very busy, suggested that it would be helpful to have someone around to take care of things, and Cody also liked the idea of living together. "I'm worried about Mom, and I've always lived here. Moving just wouldn't work for me," he explained. Reluctantly, I agreed, feeling that I couldn't say no. When they discussed the idea, my mother-in-law chimed in. "Since everyone agrees it's a good idea, Harper, do you have any objections?" Feeling cornered, I had no choice but to agree to move in with them. Once we all lived under the same roof, the challenges began. My mother-in-law, who had already been critical of my job, made my daily life difficult, insisting that I quit my job and take on all the household chores, despite me working full-time. She nitpicked every little detail, demanding I redo any cleaning she deemed insufficient. If she found the smallest flaw, like a speck of dust or stray hair, I was ordered to fix it. At first, I tried to address her concerns more thoroughly, but it soon escalated to her scrutinizing places that weren't typically cleaned, like behind the TV or between dressers, which I felt was unreasonable. Eventually, I stood my ground, saying, "I can't clean these areas every day. I work just like Cody. I'll do a thorough cleaning on weekends, so there's no need to redo everything today, right?" This response infuriated her. "How dare you talk back to me like that?" she shouted. In a fit of anger, she called Cody, falsely accusing me of yelling and misrepresenting my comments to make me seem confrontational, even adding tears for effect. I hoped Cody would understand and support me, thinking he might say, "Mom, Harper is working too. Maybe you could be more understanding." But the reality was disappointing. "Why did you upset Mom like that? She was only trying to help," he said, siding with her. This moment revealed a stark difference in how support was divided in our family. "Why are you getting upset?" Cody scolded me, once again choosing his mother's side. It was then that I realized the only person I might be able to rely on in that house was my father-in-law, but his frequent absences due to work left me alone to deal with the growing tension. I soon learned that challenging my mother-in-law only led to disputes that left me feeling deflated, as she would invariably complain to Cody, who offered no support. Deciding it was best to avoid conflict, I adopted a quieter demeanor, which seemed the only way to maintain some semblance of peace. This strategy carried me through the year until I began experiencing health issues, prompting a visit to the doctor. The diagnosis wasn't just an illness. I was pregnant. Hopeful yet apprehensive about the family's reaction, I shared the news with Cody first. "You know how I've been feeling unwell lately? Well, I went to the doctor and guess what? I'm pregnant," I revealed. "That's great. So, I'm going to be a dad, huh? Can't wait. Do we know the gender yet? Cody responded excitedly. Not yet. Does it matter to you? I inquired, already sensing his underlying expectations. Of course it does. It has to be a boy, he declared. Cody, being an only child, gave me the impression that having a son to continue the family business was crucial. What if it's a girl? I wondered aloud, concerned about how this might affect our family dynamics. Don't worry, I'm sure it's a boy, he reassured me, though I remained unconvinced. We decided to wait until the baby's gender was confirmed before telling his parents. When we discovered we were having a girl, I was overjoyed and uninterested in perpetuating any gender bias. Cody's reaction, however, was less than enthusiastic. A girl? Are you sure? Get it checked again, he said, disappointment clear in his voice. His reaction left me anxious about how his mother would take the news. Despite his initial disappointment, I dreaded the conversation with my mother-in-law, wondering how we would navigate the challenges that lay ahead. Eventually, we knew we couldn't keep the pregnancy a secret from the in-laws any longer. I gently nudged Cody to share the news. Well, I'm pregnant, he told them. My father-in-law's face lit up with joy. That's wonderful, Harper. We're finally going to have our first grandchild, he exclaimed with genuine happiness. However, my mother-in-law's reaction was immediate and pointed. So, what's the gender? She inquired with a slight hesitation. I responded, It's a girl. A girl, huh? I hope she's as lovely as you, Harper, my father-in-law said warmly, clearly not concerned about the gender. But my mother-in-law's disappointment was palpable. A girl? Not a boy? It has to be a boy to make sense for Cody, she muttered under her breath. I was taken aback by her reaction, but before the tension could escalate, my father-in-law stepped in. Honey, why would you say that? Whether it's a boy or a girl, they are still our grandchild. Can't you just be happy? He chided her gently. She seemed subdued after his reprimand, but I sensed her change in mood wouldn't last. True enough, as soon as my father-in-law left for work the next day, she confronted me. Just because you're pregnant doesn't mean you can slack off on the housework. You're not planning to quit your job, are you? If not, keep up with your chores. Pregnancy isn't an illness, you know. Hearing these words from another woman, particularly one who had been through pregnancy herself, was startling. It made me seriously consider whether staying here was the right choice for my child. My family's home is about a 4-hour train ride away. Since my dad passed away early, my mom and older sister have been living there together. Perhaps if I shared everything with them, they might welcome me to stay. I began to feel that giving birth at my in-laws' place might not be the safest or most supportive option, and I remembered that my family's home could offer a better, more caring environment. I decided to call my mom immediately. Mom, it's me, Harper. What's up? It's rare for you to call, she replied. What's going on? I'm pregnant, and I was thinking, could I come home to give birth? You're pregnant. You should have told us sooner. Congratulations. Of course you can come home for the delivery, but have you talked this over with your in-laws yet? Not yet, I admitted. Make sure you discuss it properly with them. If they agree, then I see no issue at all, Mom advised, stressing the importance of clear communication for the well-being of my baby. Encouraged by the support from my mom, I decided it was time to discuss my plans with Cody. I'm thinking of going home for the birth, I said casually. Oh, going home for the birth? I guess that's fine, he replied nonchalantly. My mom is here, so things should be fine around the house. His quick agreement surprised me, but anticipating potential resistance from my mother-in-law, I turned to my father-in-law. After thinking it over, I approached him with my concerns. I think it might be best for everyone if I went home for the delivery. Would that be all right? At first, he seemed taken aback, but then he reassured me. If that's what you want, Harper, then it's probably the best decision. I won't oppose it. Could you maybe speak to your wife on my behalf? He asked kindly. I'll tell her, he promised, showing a supportive stance toward my decision. With his approval, I felt confident that I could go home for the birth without facing any more obstacles. However, on the morning I was scheduled to leave, I woke up to find that my packed luggage was missing. A sinking feeling washed over me as I realized that both Cody and my father-in-law had already left for work, leaving me no choice but to confront my mother-in-law. "Do you know where my luggage is?" I asked hesitantly. "Oh, that luggage? I got rid of it," she snapped. "I don't need a daughter-in-law who causes so much trouble. Don't ever come back," she shouted angrily. Stunned by her harsh words, I realized that going back to my family was no longer just a choice, but a necessity for my peace and safety. As she pushed me out the door, I barely had time to process what was happening. I was still in my pajamas, barefoot, with nothing but my phone in hand. I heard the front door lock behind me with a firm click. There was no mistaking her message. I was not welcome, and she meant it. A cold realization hit me: if I didn't leave now, that door might never open for me again. With no other option, I began to walk away, but the scorching summer heat made the journey unbearable. Seeking some relief, I made my way to a nearby diner. There, I used the only possession I had, my phone, and called my mom. She was furious and promised to arrive within an hour, as she wasn't far. I spent that anxious hour in the diner, waiting for her. When my mom arrived, she wasted no time. She drove me straight back to our family home, where my sister was already waiting. I told them everything: the cruelty of my mother-in-law and the apparent indifference of Cody. My mom and sister exchanged a few quiet words, their murmurs leaving me wondering what they were planning. The next morning, being back at my family home felt like a breath of fresh air. When I went outside to grab the newspaper, I was taken aback by an unexpected sight. My mother-in-law and Cody were kneeling outside the door. "Harper, I'm so sorry. It was all my fault. Please don't sever ties with my husband's company," my mother-in-law pleaded. "Harper, I'm sorry too. Please, can we continue doing business with my dad's company?" Cody added, his voice full of regret. I stood there confused, not understanding what they were talking about. Just then, my mom and sister emerged from behind. "What on earth are you two doing, making a scene this early?" my mom asked, her tone stern. "What do you mean by resuming business?" she asked, eager to get to the bottom of their sudden change of heart. To avoid further tension, my mom invited them inside. The atmosphere was thick with unspoken questions as we all entered the house. Once seated, Cody began to make his case. "Would you consider doing business again with my dad's company?" he asked, addressing my mom and sister, who managed the company my late father had left behind. They listened attentively, curious about the details. I turned to my mom. "What does it mean for us to do business with my father-in-law's company?" I asked. "Yes, they work with one of their subsidiary companies," my mom replied. "It's a significant company within their group, second only to the main office, and their top client is your mom's company," Cody added, glancing at me. This was news to me and clearly to Cody as well. I laughed. "That's news to me too." Then, I remembered something. "Come to think of it, my parents-in-law once mentioned they've always felt indebted to each other since they first met," I said. But the nostalgia quickly faded when my mom interrupted with firm resolve. "I can't continue doing business with a family that would treat my daughter this way, sending her out with just her phone. I'm ending our business dealings." My mother-in-law, shaken by my mom's decision, pleaded desperately, "Please, I beg you, I'll do anything. Can you reconsider stopping the dealings with my husband's company?" At that moment, my sister, with a sly grin, added, "You said you'd do anything, right? So, you'll agree to Harper's divorce, and naturally, you'll pay alimony and child support, right?" Her words echoed in my mind. The day before, I had spoken with Cody about the situation, and his response had been cold. "It's what you deserve, isn't it?" His callousness only strengthened my resolve. I silently found myself agreeing with my mom's decision. Any remaining affection for Cody had vanished. I would have brought up divorce anyway if my sister hadn't so effectively made the point for me. Thanks to my sister's timely remark, the dynamics of the conversation shifted in our favor. My mother-in-law, though reluctantly, finally asked, "Even if it means agreeing to a divorce, will you resume business with my husband's company?" With a knowing smirk, my mom pulled out her phone and made a call. "It seems this lady agrees to my daughter's divorce," she said clearly into the phone. From the speaker, my father-in-law's voice came through. "Got it. Hey Gwen, I'm divorcing you and Cody, you're fired." Those were the terms he set for resuming business. Furthermore, my mom firmly declared, "I cannot forgive how you two treated Harper. You both deserve to be punished." This unexpected turn of events led to my mother-in-law losing her husband, and Cody losing his job, income, and family support. The fallout continued with a bitter divorce between my in-laws, expertly handled by a top-tier lawyer from my father-in-law's side. During the proceedings, assets were divided, and my mother-in-law had to pay a significant sum in compensation to Cody and me. I, too, proceeded with the divorce. Living with a husband so heavily influenced by his mother was no longer an option for me. I received compensation for the emotional distress caused by my mother-in-law and husband, along with child support for our unborn child. The financial strain was immense, forcing them to dip into their savings and eventually take on debt. Under the powerful influence of my father-in-law and my mom, Cody found it difficult to secure a new job in his previous field and eventually switched careers, moving into customer service. This marked a significant and humbling change in his professional life, highlighting the deep consequences of the family conflict. However, Cody underestimated the challenges of his new role and soon faced numerous complaints, leading to his swift termination. Now he lives with his mother, barely scraping by with daily wage jobs. My mother-in-law and Cody, once accustomed to a lavish lifestyle thanks to my father-in-law's generosity, now reside in a small one-bedroom apartment. Their once close relationship has soured, and they argue frequently. I sometimes wonder if there is any hope or happiness left for them. Meanwhile, I gave birth to a healthy baby girl at home, surrounded by the love and support of my mom and sister. As things settle down, I plan to join my mom's company, looking forward to a new chapter in my career. I did inform Cody about our daughter's birth, but he hasn't followed up, showing little interest. All I expect from him is to fulfill his child support obligations. I have no intention of letting him be a part of our daughter's life. From this point forward, my focus is on moving forward and building a fulfilling life with my daughter, supported by the love and strength of my family.